The vice president is talking to people in the movie industry today about violence in response to
and you know where I stand on it.
Which is that there's no relationship. And
yes.
But you haven't said why you think there's no relationship.
It's none of your damn business what I think about that.
Well, in life, we don't always get to choose who we get to interact with, but we always have control over how we can respond. And if you've ever had to deal with a passive-aggressive person, you know exactly that it can be frustrating. And oftentimes, you don't even realize that they're being passive-aggressive until it's too late. So in this video, we're going to take a look at an interview with a movie producer, Quentin Tarantino, and not only see how passive-aggressive people behave, but more importantly, how to shut them down. Now, if for some reason you don't know who Quentin Tarantino is, maybe you're living under a rock, but he's responsible for movies like Kill Bill, Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, and much more. Now, this interview took place several years ago, but the lessons that we can learn from it definitely transcend time. So back in 2013, Quentin Tarantino was being interviewed on the promotional tour of the movie Django, which, by the way, if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor and go check it out. Now, it is a movie about slavery, and it's not the typical type of movie that Quentin Tarantino would do. Now, the guy that's interviewing him, Krishnan Guru Murthy, obviously wants to talk about other things besides the movie Django. And what we're about to see and dissect here is how things take a horrible turn for the interviewer, who I believe was being passive-aggressive and really trying to get Mr. Tarantino to discuss things he really didn't want to discuss. So without further ado, let's roll it.
Congratulations on the movie. Why did you want to make a movie with slavery as a theme? Did that just come with making a Western in that period?
God, I've always wanted to explore slavery in a film before. But I think actually my real reason to, I've always wanted to explore slavery, but I guess the reason that actually made me put pen to paper was to give Black American males a Western hero. Give them a cool folkloric hero that could actually be empowering and actually pay back blood for blood.
And that's the revenge bit. I mean, is that essential to making a hero?
In the case of laying waste to a genocidal white racist class in the institution of slavery, yes, that would be the reason to do it, as opposed to just a historical story where this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens and that happens.
So you can't be surprised by the controversy that's come along with it?
Well, you can't. I don't think you can actually make a movie about slavery in America that it's not going to be controversial.
Are you very disappointed by some of the reactions, Spike Lee especially?
Oh, I couldn't be happier with the reaction to this movie. It's been fantastic.
Okay, so far things seem pretty normal, right? Krishnan is asking what seems to be relevant questions. The conversation looks cordial. Not much to worry about, would you say? Well, this brings up our first lesson, and that is to listen intently to what they're saying. In order to be good at discerning passive-aggressive people, you really have to pay attention to their words. Many times, these types of individuals are busy laying the groundwork by saying seemingly harmless things, but let me point out a few things here for you. So Quentin Tarantino said that he wanted to give black males a folkloric hero that could be empowering, to which he's asked if that was essential. In other words, is it necessary? In a way that undermines the reason he's just given. Then he's asked, so you can't be surprised by the controversy that comes along with it. This is a leading question and would put Mr. Tarantino on the defensive. So saying that you can't be surprised is to suggest that he is surprised. And Krishnan could have asked, are you surprised? It's a sly way to try and put words in Quentin's mouth. And then he's asked, are you very disappointed by some of the reactions to the movie? Again, seems harmless, but in my opinion, the word very is a bit of a trigger word. Now, I'm not sure if Quentin Tarantino at this point is on to some of the tactics here, but he certainly does a good job at answering the questions in a positive light. So intentional or not, I believe that Krishnan is poking the bear a little bit, testing the waters per se. The rise that he might be looking to get isn't really happening. So you're going to see how things quickly start to switch gears.
It's good publicity, I suppose.
Well, no. It's creating a nice debate. Even the people who don't like the film, all right, are actually, I am responsible for people talking about slavery in America in a way that they have not in 30 years.
Okay, did you catch how Krishnan just tried to skirt off to something else? Well, it's good publicity, I suppose, but I mean, it's almost like he's not buying what Quentin Tarantino was saying. So Tarantino does the right thing and moves to step 2, which is to rephrase. Now, sometimes you get into debates with people or they're trying to put words in their mouth. You need to hold them in their place and rephrase your position. And Tarantino stops him dead in his tracks as he tries to skirt off and rephrase his position. Although he's already stated that he's happy with the movie, he's not disappointed if people don't like it, the controversy doesn't bother him, and now he says, I am responsible for people talking about slavery in America in a way they have not in 30 years. Rephrasing is critically important for 2 reasons. First, it gives the opportunity to ensure that you're being understood clearly, and second, it reaffirms for the other person that you're actually listening to what they're saying. Let's keep this moving.
But you must care very deeply that this doesn't become, a film that stands out from the rest of your body of work as one that is, trashed by more people or anything like that.
It's not trashed by more people. What you're saying is not correct. It's not trashed by more people.
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying, that, are you concerned? I mean,
no, I'm not talking about the movie right now. You're talking about, I'm talking about there is actually a dialogue going on about slavery right now that has not been happening at all.
And then again, you hear Krishnan making the suggestion that the movie is more trashed than some of the other work that Quentin Tarantino has done. And Tarantino, I'm sure, gives him a quick warning shot here. He says, it's not trashed by more people. Kind of puts him in check. Says, what you're saying is incorrect. In situations like this, you are your only advocate, so you can't be afraid to correct misleading information. Once more, Tarantino takes the time to pause and rephrase his position.
It's a subject people are afraid to talk about. And now because of this movie, people aren't afraid to talk about it. People are talking about it. Somebody likes the movie, and they write a review on this. I mean, especially in a world right now where you actually have the internet, where actually anybody can actually now speak publicly, which was not the case before. So now somebody actually writes a review for the movie and they like it. And then you read the comment sections, and some people who don't like it attack them, and say they're saying. Somebody who doesn't like the movie writes a blog about it, and the people who like the movie hold them to task in the comment section. That's a dialogue.
Tarantino just put him in check for a second time now. He's rephrased a couple times, and this guy is just not getting sort of the type of answers that he's hoping to get. And this is going to lead us to the next step in being able to deal with passive-aggressive people, and that's to watch for what I call the switcheroo. As with the usual case, when passive-aggressive people don't get a rise out of you, they will often try to switch gears to move on to something else that might get you off track. So what you're about to see is Krishnan come to a full stop and now just start asking questions related to violence in movies, which of course is generally the type of movie that Quentin Tarantino makes. Now, again, nothing to really do with the movie Django. And I honestly believe that this is the real line of questioning that he was really trying to spend some time on.
Let me ask you about violence. I mean, you said, everyone knows you make violent movies, you like violent movies. Mm-hmm. Why do you like making violent movies?
I don't know. It's like asking Judd Apatow, why do you like making comedies?
You just get a kick out of it, or you just enjoy it?
Well, I think.
Okay, so there's no doubt in my mind at this point that Quentin is starting to analyze what's really going on here, but he tries to make light of the question and gives a bit of a sarcastic answer. And I believe that at that momentary pause and this subsequent sort of fumbling with his words, you can see his hands moving. It isn't because he doesn't know what to say, but rather it's him having an internal conversation with himself, recognizing that the interviewer must be up to something. And I think he's collecting his thoughts and probably preparing for that fight or flight mode. You know, that point in time when you're deciding whether you should cuss somebody or clock them in the mouth? Yeah, that time. He's been listening closely to the questions he's being asked. He's rephrased his position. He's even given a quick warning shot or two. But now he's sensing that switcheroo and recognizing that they're getting away and getting off topic from the movie Django, which again, he's here to promote. So when you're being backed into a corner, take a second to briefly pause, because it provides you an opportunity to slow down, collect your thoughts, and plan your opportunity to shut them down. Let's keep this rolling.
I think it's good cinema. I consider it good cinema. You know, you sit there in a movie theater when these cathartic violent scenes happen. I'm talking about the cathartic violent scenes. I'm not talking about there's two types of violence in this movie. There's the brutality of the violence in the day.
Let's pause here for a second, because the next thing we can learn from this is that when people are trying to derail you, you can still maintain control by bringing it back on task. Notice how Quentin Tarantino is being asked about general violence in movies, but he quickly skirts that by addressing the question, but in the context of the movie. He says there are two types of violence in this movie and provides an explanation. He almost went off on a tangent, but he quickly caught himself and brought it back in line. Now, this is so smart because while he's touching very lightly on the subject, he's controlling the conversation by bringing the discussion back into alignment with why he's here.
Put upon the slaves in
the rape
during the time. I don't think there's any rape going on in the movie. All right.
If that's not a warning shot, I don't know what is. I honestly need to give Tarantino a round of applause here because he's reasonably holding it together. But as frustrated as he might be getting, he states his position again. He's rather patient. Krishnan is clearly doing whatever it takes to continue the full court press on these types of questions about violence. And this is not what they're here to discuss. And his persistence to press on the issue is passive aggressive. Things are about to get heated up though. Let's keep watching.
But there's brutality to the slaves. That hasn't been dealt with in America to the extent that I deal with it. And I'm showing you that there was two Holocausts in America. This is one of them. We've dealt with the Indian Holocaust, the Holocaust of the American Indian in America. But we haven't been dealing with the Holocaustic aspects, the Auschwitzian aspects of the slave trade in America. My movie deals with that. Then there's the cathartic violence of Django paying back blood for blood.
And that's why, is that why you think people like watching violent movies? People who are not violent people or twisted people in any way, but why it's okay to go into a movie and enjoy the violence?
Yeah, well, it's a movie. It's a fantasy. It's a fantasy. It's not real life. It's a fantasy. You go and you watch, you watch a kung fu movie and one guy takes on 100 people in a restaurant. That's fun.
But why are you so sure that there's no link between enjoying movie violence and enjoying real violence?
I'm going to tell you why I'm so sure. Do not ask me a question like that. I'm not biting. I refuse your question.
And then there comes a time when someone just pushes the red button. You've been listening, you've rephrased your position, you've observed the switcheroo, you've kept it on task. Listen to the question. Why are you so sure that there was no link between enjoying movie violence and enjoying real violence? Who said he was sure? There comes a time when you have to muster the courage to simply call people out.
Why?
Because I refuse your question. I'm not your slave and you're not my master. You can't make me dance to your tune. I'm not a monkey.
On one hand, someone could say that Krishnan just accomplished his goal to get a reaction out of Quentin Tarantino, but I would argue that he handled it appropriately. See, simply and cold-blooded, I'm not biting. He makes it clear in no uncertain terms that he's aware of his negative behavior and will not give in. Now look at this. This is the face of, oh damn, I think I hit the red button. Bit of a nervous smirk, the hand concealing his face, the awkward lean to the left. So many telltale signs. I believe this guy felt very comfortable behind his passive-aggressive ways right up until he was called out about his nonsense. See, you are in no way obligated to participate in negative behavior. And as I said, you can't always control who you have to interact with, but you can control how you respond. And this right here is one way that you can respond. Call them out.
I can't make you answer anything. I'm asking you interesting questions.
And I'm saying I refuse.
Okay. Well, no, I was just asking you why. That's fine. But you see, Jamie Foxx has said we can't turn our back and say that violence in films or anything that we do doesn't have a source of influence.
Then you should talk to Jamie Foxx about that. And I think he's actually here, so you can.
I'd love to, but I mean, it's interesting that you have a different view, and I'm just trying to explore that.
Yeah, and I don't want to, because I'm here to sell my movie. This is a commercial for the movie. Make no mistake.
Well, you have views.
Yeah.
So you don't want to talk about anything serious?
I don't want to talk about what you want to talk about. I don't want to talk about the implications of violence. I haven't wanted. Because the reason I don't want to talk about it because I've said everything I have to say about it.
By far, I think the most important aspect of dealing with a passive-aggressive person, especially in situations similar to this, is to hold your ground. See, once you've stated your position, it's critically important that you don't go backwards. The pitfall for a lot of us is that we feel that there's an obligation to continue to answer or debate with people. And you don't owe anyone an answer to anything you don't want to answer. And you can see Tarantino was about to try to justify, but he caught himself and just said, screw it. I've said everything I've had to say about it.
If anyone cares what I have to say about it, they can Google me. And they can look for 20 years what I have to say about it. I haven't changed my opinion one iota.
No, but you haven't fleshed it out. That's
I
the
have,
only reason.
it's not my job to flesh it out.
No, it's my job to try and ask you to.
And
That's
I'm
all,
shutting
you know?
your butt down.
And that's entirely your
This is a commercial
right.
from my movie.
No, I know, but it's my job to try and explore some serious themes as well. I'm sure.
Well,
You know.
I invite you to explore some serious things, but not things that I have already been on the record for talking
But
about.
violence is such a big part of all of your movies, and it's it's an enjoyable part of your movies for so many people, and that's why I'm talking about this, because it's a very sensitive time at the moment. I mean, the vice president is talking to people in the movie industry today about violence in response.
And you know where I stand on it.
Which is that there's no relationship. And
yes.
But you haven't said why you think there's no relationship.
It's none of your damn business what I think about that.
Well, it's my job to ask you why you think that.
And I'm
you're very
saying
influential.
no. And I'm shutting you down.
But you have a responsibility as a filmmaker, surely, to explain a little bit about
No,
what
I
you're
don't
doing.
have any responsibility to you to explain anything I don't want to.
No, not to me, but to your viewers, to your fans, to people who
They know
care about what it is that you're doing.
They know where I'm coming from. And I have explained it. And I have explained even what you're talking about. I'm just not giving it to you.
Why?
Because I don't want to, because I've done it already. I have explained this many times in the last 20 years. I just refuse to repeat myself over and over again because you want me to.
Okay, I think we can end this one here and quickly do a recap of the lessons learned. Number 1, it's important to be conscious and aware of the words that passive-aggressive people will use and their sly tactics. You have to listen. Number 2, you need to rephrase your position. Sometimes when you get into debates or arguments with people, you need to just do your best to ensure that there's clarity and no misunderstandings in what you mean. Number 3, watch for the switcheroo. Passive-aggressive people will always jump from topic to topic to see which one will get you the most to react. And that's why number 4 is to keep it on task. Don't entertain arguments and debates about things that aren't directly related to the matter at hand. And when they try to derail you, bring it back to the center. Number 5, call them out. Sometimes it's just necessary to let passive-aggressive people know that you know what they're up to. And number 6, the most important, hold your ground. Do not debate, do not justify. If you got anything out of this video today, do me a favor, give it a like so I know. It helps me figure out what kind of content you guys enjoy. And of course, if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. I greatly appreciate it. Until next time, peace and love.